If you look at what Putin's doing in Ukraine, it's causing global uncertainty and a spike in the price of oil. That feeds through to the forecourts in the UK. Everybody can see the effect of the increase in gas prices. That's coming through, and we've got to make sure that we're prepared and that we're taking steps to mitigate that, to help people with the cost of living. So next week we're going to be setting out the energy strategy for the UK. Massive jump forward on renewables, more nuclear, using our own hydrocarbons more effectively. Also looking at what we can do to source hydrocarbons from places other than Russia. We've got to get off Russian hydrocarbons. But the reason for coming here is that it's not just that they've got oil, they're also some of the biggest investors here in the Gulf, in UK renewables, in our wind farms, and that's what we'll be talking about.
Do you think you can persuade oil producers today to turn the taps on?
It's not just a question of looking at the OPEC countries and what they can do to increase supply. There's also, as I say, though that is important, there's also the issue of Emirati investment in UK wind farms, already huge. What more can they do? We need to double the pace of our construction of wind farms. We're already one of the biggest producers of offshore wind power in the world. When we look at the dependency that the West in particular has built up on Putin's hydrocarbons, on Putin's oil and gas, we can see what a mistake that was, because he's been able to blackmail the West to hold Western economies to ransom. We need independence.
But part of your answer to that is to work with a regime like Saudi Arabia. I mean, why are you comfortable working with a regime like that? It has a very questionable human rights record, and you've been criticised by many people for being willing to appeal to them.
And I've raised all those issues many times over the past since I was Foreign Secretary and beyond, and I'll raise them all again today. But we have long-standing relationships with this part of the world, and we need to recognise the very important relationship that we have and the strength of that relationship, not just in hydrocarbons. This is about investment in the UK over the long term, and genuinely you should look at some of the things. I mean, you talk about Saudi Arabia. They're announcing today a £1 billion investment in Teesside in aviation fuel, in green aviation fuel, I should say. And that is the kind of thing that we want to encourage. Doesn't in any way mean that we can't stick to our principles and raise those issues that we all care about.
Briefly on President Zelensky, he appears to have signalled that he doesn't expect now to join NATO, and he sounds slightly more optimistic about peace talks. What's your take on what's happening, how things are developing?
I talked to Vladimir again yesterday, and of course I understand what he's saying about NATO and the reality of the position, and everybody's always said, and we made it clear to Putin, there's no way Ukraine is going to join NATO anytime soon. But the decision about the future of Ukraine has got to be for the Ukrainian people and for Volodymyr Zelensky as their elected leader. And we will back him. And the most important thing is that Putin's aggression, his absolutely barbaric attacks on Ukraine, should stop, and they should not be seen to have succeeded, and they won't succeed.
And just lastly, there's been some renewed optimism about Nazanin Zaghari-Ratcliffe. I know you were asked about this yesterday, but now you're in the region. Can you update people on any progress? Is it true that there's a negotiating team in Tehran?
It's true, and has been for a long time, Laura, that we're negotiating for the release of our dual nationals in Tehran. Some very sad cases, including Nazanin. I really don't think I should say much more. I'm sorry, although things are moving forward. I shouldn't really say much more right now, just because those negotiations continue to be underway, and we're going right up to the wire.